Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
Hi humans! Before we kick off the episode, a few announcements. First, Roll to Seize is moving from the last Friday of every month to the last Wednesday of every month. And this is because in exactly 1 week from today, our newest podcast, Friday Night Quests, a weekly live play D&D podcast with celebrity guests and ridiculous adventures, premieres on June 5th. Check out partialarc.com for more details. Second, the Partial Arc crew is going to be at Origins Game Fair next week from June 3rd through the 7th, and we may or may not have exclusive announcements for those attending. We look forward to seeing you there. And finally, if you enjoyed the show and you'd like to unlock the Brown Library's ultimate but weird treasures, please consider hopping on iTunes and leaving us a review. Any 5-star rating and review really helps people find the show and allows us to continue doing what we and the Void Dragon love. With that said, let's start the show.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. And a lot of weird shit. Roll to Seize!
Welcome to Roll to Seize. This is episode 11. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and I'm joined by my co-host and Warhammer enthusiast, Andrew Dickinger.
Beep boop.
Andrew, you've turned yourself into a robot in honor of Cult Mechanicus, right?
Boop boop beep.
Oh my god, this is going to make for a really great podcast radio, guys.
All right, sorry about that. I got my translator
you pulled
working.
the feeding tube out of your...
Yeah, that was not my choice.
Yeah, they put that in everybody. It's
They're
really
like,
weird.
Cybernetics, right? And I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah. And then they just shove it down your throat.
They're really big in nutrition in Cult Mechanicus. They're like, you will eat only health paste.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they remove your digestive tract.
They do?
Yeah.
Is that healthy? I don't know.
Maybe that's the healthiest.
Maybe that's the healthiest thing ever. Guys, we've been doing it wrong. We need to be removing our intestinal tract.
Yeah, it's a thing of the past.
Oh,
it's time for
perfect.
the future.
I'll hold on. I feel a lot better now with that tube inside my body. So guys, Cult Mechanicus just came out. This weird twin codex to Skitarii.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a bit odd that they didn't just make one giant codex.
We swear we're not Skitarii. We're a culty, not robot, but half robot.
I mean,
group.
I don't like bad-mouthing the people who make the game we love.
Exactly.
But it feels very money-grabby. But apparently there is some quote-unquote fluff behind it of why they'd be separated. At least the feel of the armies is very different. Skitarii's more like niche sort of weird close combat units, whereas it looks like Cult Mechanicus is just like overkill.
Uber firepower.
Overkill seems to be the theme of that book.
But even so, it still feels like it could have been one piece of an overall army. You know, like Eldar has a bunch of, with their aspect warriors, they've got a lot of banshees and striking scorpions and previously harlequins, a lot of close combat units with big destructo, units like Wraith Guard and Wraith Knights now. So it still feels strange. It's just like they cut off an arm of an army and was like, this is an army now.
Yeah, well, and I think, marketing definitely feels like it has something to do with it. Like, they wanted to make the most money out of the release, but at the same time as well, they have these universal army special rules that are only applying, like, you have Skitarii special rules, and then you have Cult Mechanicus special rules.
Right.
So they are two separate things, so, like, even if you have them allied, one only affects one only affects the other, and they are different.
That's
like,
interesting.
Considerably different. Like, Skitarii just does the boosting to ballistic skill or weapon skill, just like that. That's all it is. It's either +1, +2, +3, +1, +2, +3 with minuses depending on which one you choose.
Okay.
Whereas the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Cult Mechanicus, is like very different things. Like, you get to reroll hits or reduce cover saves or something like that. But they're all dependent. The Cult Mechanicus one is weird because it's dependent on how many units total in the army you have. So there's a bonus. There's 6 different things. And there's a 3-unit bonus, a 4 to 7 bonus, and an 8-unit bonus.
So if you have more cultists, the crazier and better you are.
Exactly.
Apparently, somehow.
Yeah. Like, I think one of them is, like, if you have 3 units, you get to reroll morale checks. If you have 4 to 7 units, you get to reroll all checks, all leadership checks.
Wow.
And then if you have 8 plus units, you're fearless.
So really, it's super Kool-Aid is what they're rocking over there. Like, everybody drinks the Kool-Aid and they get just supercharged.
I mean, it's like NOS-infused Kool-Aid because they're all like machines and shit. So it's just like...
Makes sense to me.
Like, throw the nitro!
So let's get to the show, guys. So, like we always kick off, we talk about our C's of the month. So I will kick off with my C's. This past month, I was in a tournament, and I got to bust out my oldies but goodies Necrons. So I've put my little Eldar into hypersleep Betty time, and I've busted out the evil old robots that are also Dynasty Kings, I guess?
Like... Egyptian
lords, yeah, why not? And they're great, but I haven't used Necrons since the new codex, so I was kind of excited to try these guys out. Tomb Blades got a lot cheaper and cooler, and there are a lot of new things, specifically this Decurion detachment, or whatever it was called.
Yes,
it's this
that's correct.
Crazy thing that just makes these Necrons apparently unkillable.
Well, they're new reanimation protocols.
Oh my god, it's outrageous.
It's best feel no pain in the game.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it works on instant death weapons, and it's like, but it's -1. It's like, yeah, unless you put like one thing in there, and then they're all 4+ always, especially with a resurrection orb.
Yeah, I mean, the only way to ever get rid of it is D-weapons.
Yeah, no, only way ever. But it's like, sure, it's like, oh man, only D-weapons get rid of their instant like comebacks. It's like, oh no, so sad. But I started this list and I was like, oh, I want to put this in there and I want to put that in there. And I wanted to fit that big Decurion setup because it's so amazing. I mean, you get so many amazing abilities and the 4+ and all that good stuff. So I was like, okay, I got to do this. So I fit everything in nicely and I made what a lot of people are doing with Necrons is like a big super bubble of warriors and dropping in your lords and your cryptex to basically make them unkillable. But this was my first time out with them. I hadn't played with them in a while, and even though Necrons classically are pretty unkillable, they've taken it to a whole new level in this game, and I just didn't really understand that when I started out. So I was playing against, not a Wolf Star, but I was playing against Space Wolves with, I believe, some Space Marine allies. And the guy was running some land speeders to capture objectives, but he was also running a huge wolf pack. So I think it was like 2 wolf lords or a bunch of dudes on giant wolves with huge murder hammers and a bunch of little baby wolves.
Yeah, I think I saw it. Like, he actually had a lot of just regular wolves.
Yeah, a lot of little wolves and thunder wolves. Yeah. So to me, right out the gate, I was like, oh, invisibility, Wolf Star, this thing's going to be super unkillable. Great, because my whole idea with Necrons is I'm going to be walking up this phalanx up the field, and now I'm going to have this Wolf Star running at me. Now, I didn't really understand the kind of power I could leverage from giving more people war scythes, which you can now. Like, you can kind of just toss those out to anybody, any of your lords and people like that. But I didn't really throw those out as much. But I also didn't really think about how durable my Necrons are. I was like, oh crap, like all these wolves, all these weapons, like all these crazy special things, my guys are going to get blown off the board. So I was really hesitant with my Necrons in the game. I kind of held them back. I even had Imhotep in the game. He's a classic from when I used to play Necrons in the old codex, and I love him because the dude makes lightning, and that's just glorious. But I had Imhotep in the game, and he was even walking with my warriors, and they were scared. I was retreating with them, I was pulling them back, and I just wasn't leveraging the Necrons for being these unkillable machines of death like they are seen as now.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to. They're a map control army.
Oh
you
yeah,
just
they just
force your way up the field.
It's just you know, they're like ants. They just overtake, and you just have to accept or not. And where this really showed through was I had a group of immortals that came through. Actually, I think I either dropped them from a Night Scythe, or I think I pushed them out of a portal of the monolith. But at some point they came out right in front of the Wolf Death Squad, and this Wolf Death Squad went in, charged, and was like, you know, either got poor hits or poor swings, but I think I only lost like 2 immortals of 10 guys. And this is like a Wolf Star. But speaking of which, this immortal unit didn't like have any special characters. It didn't have any special things with it. It was just a bunch of immortals, and they quite very well lived up to their name. Unfortunately, at this point, it really dawned on me that I was like, oh, my army is just super unkillable.
If 10 immortals can live through that.
Through like a Wolf Star bomb, basically. And they lived through it through like 2 rounds of combat. He had to like hit and run and get out of there because he wasn't killing enough of them. And unfortunately, I learned this lesson far too late in the game. And I was just like, oh, well, I should have been moving these guys up way farther because I was retreating and pulling back and really being too hesitant with my Necrons. And by the time it got to the end of the game, it was an objective objective capture. His land speeders were too fast. My guys couldn't get there in time, and I lost. And it was just because I was not willing to throw my warrior blobs out there to take the hits that they're meant to take. And if those guys get in there, I have like 1 or 2 war scythes in there that can do the job. So it was my big misstep this game was not trusting the new just unkillable rules that come with Necrons, and also maybe just not doing enough research into this army before fielding them out there.
Well, I almost feel like this was like little whispers in the back of your head talking about phase out, and like remember phase out?
Oh my god, I don't know if any of you guys know about phase out. But back in the day, the first like true edition of Necrons, when they came out with like the big neon plastic pieces and it was a big deal when the monolith first came out, they had this rule called phase out, where robots basically were like, we've lost too many casualties, we have to get out of here. And if you lost, I think it was 75%
of Necron.
Of just Necron units, so not your total units.
Wraiths and stuff don't count.
They don't count, just things that are labeled as Necrons. You just leave the battle, like everything just leaves, and you just instant lose. It was the most ridiculous rule.
You give your opponent a tabling.
Yeah, so I think maybe there's just a little bit of that click-clacking around the back of my mind, like, don't let the warriors die.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my Seize of the Month. So Andrew, what was your Seize?
All right, well, you know I have a very love-hate relationship with my Tyranids.
What? Nobody on this podcast has ever felt that way or heard you speak in that manner.
Ironically, this isn't yet another complaint about a flying hive tyrant.
This is about the hive tyrant? The ongoing hate relationship you have with your hive tyrant? It hates you, you hate it.
I just suck so bad with flying hive tyrants. I don't know why. I was in a game against actually the new... I'm trying to remember the name of them. The new Khorne, like Devilkin or whatever. The Khorne specific supplement that came out.
The sneaky supplement that everybody was like, hey, did Chaos get like new stuff? It's like, yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they got a lot of new stuff.
People were like, oh, there's like a new like Bloodthirster and stuff, and like they got all these
I bet
moves.
It's not important at all that I should know any of these new things.
Which is like an ironic thing in our forum as well, because people just, I don't know, it's like Chaos Space Marines is just like the butt of every joke for some reason.
Which is weird because they're really good now.
They're good, and a lot of people just don't understand how good they are.
So I'm sure that won't work into your story at all.
Of them being good?
This is the story of happiness, right, and joy.
This is the story of the worst game of 40k I've probably played in about 8 years.
Ooh, boy. Everyone strap yourselves in. Here we go.
Disclaimer. Tyranids do not have good ranged anti-tank. They just don't.
That's true.
Their current version of their codex, they basically lost their best version, which was Hiveguard. Hiveguard got more expensive with worse ballistic skill.
Yay?
Because reasons?
Sure.
So no one uses them anymore. And, I mean, Zoanthropes are decent. They're good, they're not beyond decent. If their shot goes off, it's a strength 10 AP2 lance shot. Like, it's a great anti-tank shot. The problem is that they have to pass a psychic test. And then after they pass the psychic test, then they have to pass their ballistic skill test. And then they actually have to roll to penetrate. So it's like there's so many steps in between that it just rarely ever succeeds. Other than that, like, your only real option is like Haywire Flamers or a bunch of strength 6 rounds. Well, I happened to be going against a guy that was running not only 2 Soul Grinders, which are 13, 13, 11 armor, so it's just like, well, fuck that. There's nothing I can do about that.
I don't think I'm going to kill those things.
But I'm also running Highlander Nids, so it's super unforgiving.
Yep.
And this was the one game that I didn't take Old One Eye with me.
So this is great because Andrew consistently after games would end and just be like, I just don't think I can field Old One Eye anymore. He's just not, helping me do what I need to get done.
It's just so expensive.
One time you don't field him is when you needed him the most.
The one time I don't field him is when I go against a wall of machines that I have really no answer to.
Yeah, and Carnifexes are awesome. They're like D3 strength 9, strength 10.
The regular Carnifexes are D3 strength 9 Hammer of Wrath. I mean, Old One Eye is D3 strength 10 Hammer of Wrath.
Yeah, that's nice to have.
And then 6 strength 10 hits, which then any hits generate more hits. So it's just like,
I feel like he would have cut up those machines pretty hardcore.
I mean, he would have killed one a turn probably. Oof. And I'm playing a Khorne army, so he's just going to come straight at me.
Right.
Because it's a Khorne army. So the Seeds that essentially, just since we're sidetracked a bit, this is a knowledge thing where I haven't seen Chaos for so long that I really didn't pay. I just was overconfident. And I was like, I see this stuff that's machines, but most of my stuff can just tie it up and then it's not a big deal. And then I just kill everything else. Like, I piecemeal it.
Right.
And Wow, oh boy, that was wrong. I completely misunderstood the speed of this army. Now, specifically...
So these things are fast.
I mean, the Soul Grinders are like regular walkers and stuff, but they have these things called Maulerfiends, which have been around in the Chaos Space Marine Codex since the 6th edition Codex came out. But I didn't realize these are walkers that move 12 inches a turn.
What?
And so I went first.
Like little fast scuttling crabs across the field.
Yeah, I went first. They actually look more like Dinobots, to be completely honest.
Oh, yes, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, so I was going to go straight at them because I'm using a close combat nid list.
Yeah, let's do this. Run at each other.
And this was the first time I was actually running a Termagant blob with a Warrior Prime. And my Warrior Prime was actually one of the best units I had to take out his Warlord in close combat. Like, because he had like a Juggerlord with a bunch of hounds. And,
okay.
And he forced, the axe that he took on him, he's forced to accept challenges. And if I got my Prime into a challenge with this guy, like, he has basically a 78% chance to insta-kill him before he gets to fight.
That's exact math, folks.
The super easy thing. But
right.
I totally didn't realize how far this stupid Maulerfiend that I can't hurt can move, and I'm fearless without hit and run.
Oh no.
So I move straight at him, and then he's like, oh, at 12 inches, and I was just like, oh shit. And so he first turn charges that unit, that huge blob, and then proceeds to lock them for 3 turns. And it was just like, well, now I've lost the initiative, I've lost the ability to control the board, and I was forced to use a Dima Chiron to kill this stupid Maulerfiend because it was literally the only close combat monstrous creature that wouldn't have to smash and do one attack
take it out
and hope to take it out, because the damn thing has 3 hull points, a 5+ invul save, and it will not die. Like,
yeah, it's pretty durable.
I mean, god damn it.
That's chaos machines for you.
Yeah, I mean, I totally forgot that they all have 5+ invul saves now with fear, and it will not die.
They're like demon machines.
Like, Soul Grinders are terrifying. They're 4 hull points with 13, 11 armor. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah, I just that loss of the initiative with my board control unit in the beginning and me completely forgetting that those things move 12 inches just screwed me. I mean, it just like I just lost all board control in the game. Like we said, it's about objectives. And if you lose the board control, you can't capture objectives and you lose.
That's you can kill some big nasty things, but at the end of the day, it's the points.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can have a guy that only has like 2 jet bikes left, but he'll still win if he's been capturing objectives. Like,
exactly.
It's just the name of the game.
Oh man, that's tough stuff. All right, guys. Well, those were our seasons of the month, and that'll take us into the Brown Library. You know, I'm a little upset. This area is not feeding tube friendly, and I'm pretty hungry. That pace did not really hold me over all the way over here to the Brown Library.
Yeah, those no feeding tube signs are kind of racist.
Yeah,
just gonna go out there and say that.
Little racist. So we're gonna have some talks with Greg.
I mean, the Harlequins are normally pretty racist, but this is over the line.
This is taking it a bit far, guys. It's just normal feeding tubes. Relax. But anyways, so here we are in the Brown Library, and as we do each month, Andrew runs a poll on Dakka of Dakkas to see what our unit will be this episode. So, Andrew, what is it?
Now, ironically, we have another double feature.
Oh, goodness.
Just like Sneaky Loudy and actually many of the others, people have trouble deciding. We have a repeat, though, of a faction.
Oh.
One faction that, ironically, I was just talking about.
What faction?
Chaos Space Marines.
Ba-na-na! Wait, Chaos Space Marines? People felt that they're not used as often as much?
I think so.
I mean, I guess so. That's true. I mean, we were just talking about how you were kind of surprised because you're not very familiar with Chaos Space Marines.
Ironically, though, the 2 units that I'm going to talk about today, one I love. It's my favorite Chaos Space Marine faction. I think the whole history behind them is awesome. Really cool. The other one I literally knew fuck all about and had to educate myself.
What is going on with these guys?
So the first one is the one that we're actually going to start with, the one that I don't know very much about.
Okay, great.
And this unit is called Warp Talons.
Warp Talons.
Now, these are essentially super souped up Chaos Raptors, which are jump infantry.
Okay.
They've been touched by the warp. They're slightly demonic, so they actually have the demon rule, and they come stock with like a pair of lightning claws. But the cool thing about them is they're they're not really human anymore or superhuman at this point. They see themselves as birds of prey.
Oh, so they actually think of themselves as creatures.
They think they're literally birds.
I just imagine them like hanging out at like Chaos Space Marine Base. It's like, we're going to go back to the Soul Pit now. It's like, that's the bathroom, John. That's the... You gotta stop. You're not a demon. I'm a demon. Shut up.
Except remember, they're just speaking in like squawks and grunts and stuff.
That's true.
They've actually lost all cognitive ability to communicate.
John, get back here. We're playing Scrabble. God damn it, John. We know you can speak English or whatever the hell we're speaking. Chaos English?
Chaos link?
We tried to make that work and it just didn't happen.
But these things are cool. Like one of the coolest things about their fluff in general is that they have the ability to rip through space.
What?
Yeah, they can like imagine the kids from Dogma, like the 3 like skater kids that could like
and they could just
hole.
jump through.
Yeah, they can do that.
That's awesome. There's actually, and I don't mean to pull in comic book stuff, but there's a great comic book character called Miss America who can punch through realities. So I like anything.
I approve.
Yeah. I love anyone that can punch through actual realities, but I love the idea of anyone that can just like literally physically rip open reality holes.
Yeah, so then that's like essentially how they prey upon their targets.
Well, I gotta say that's pretty good infiltration to be able to jump through reality.
And it applies to the game itself. Now, it's not the best rule in the game, but the idea is that the way they translated it into the codex is that when they deep strike, if they deep strike within 6 inches of an enemy unit, the enemy unit has to take a blind test. So it's like them suddenly ripping a hole in the
surprise.
So in general, I mean, they're just these weird bird people or formerly Space Marines that essentially can't communicate.
Which is funny to say, like, that Chaos Space Marines would have, like, a weird bird people group, because, like, it's Chaos Space Marines. Like, they're surrounded by weird shit all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if it really stands out as being weird.
Maybe.
It's more like, oh, there goes Carl. Oh, he doesn't talk much anymore. Yeah, because he can't talk. He
talks like a bird, Mark. You know this. God.
Now, as far as the rules go, disclaimer. I've not said this before on the show, but this is one of the few times I'll actually say this unit is pretty garbage.
Ooh.
It's tough. Like, you really, really have to force yourself to make these guys work. Like, Games Workshop did everything in their power to make you never use these things. First of all, it's only a Space Marine. So get this. It's just a toughness 4, 3+ save Space Marine. Yeah, it's got a 5+ invul save. Whoop-de-freaking-do.
But no additional attacks or anything like that?
I mean, it's like a few extra attacks, but like it's and it's purely close combat. They have a pair of lightning claws, so yeah, cool.
That's cool.
They ignore armor, but they have no assault grenades, so then they can't assault into cover. And they only have 1 wound. Which means that you just shoot them once with the bolter, and that has a 23% chance to kill them.
Like most Chaos Birds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of sad. And then here's the real kicker. 30 points apiece.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That is expensive. I was waiting for the point cost, because I'm like, standard Space Marine body type is not bad, and lightning claws are great, and like... There's plenty of units out there that are just close combat dedicated, but...
If they were like Warp Spider cost... Like, say around
19 points,
17 to 19 points, then shit, yeah, they'd be useful.
That'd be that'd be very good.
I mean, even if without assault grenades, which kind of makes no sense because they're supposed to be souped up raptors, and raptors have assault grenades, and they don't.
All dedicated close combat units should have something like that.
It's just silly not to have it, but I mean when it comes down to it, the real kicker that just like puts the nail in the coffin is the cost. I mean, like Chaos Terminator, and Chaos Terminators are largely regarded as not very good. Mm-hmm. They're only 1 point more.
What? No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad. And hey, we are all for using units that you love and you personally enjoy the fluff for. That's what we love ourselves. But, oof, that's a tough pill. That's a tough health paste to swallow in my feeding tube, Andrew. It all came back around.
Yeah, full circle.
Perfect.
Now, the second unit is actually, like I said, they're my favorite unit in all of Chaos Space Marines.
Ooh.
They also got, in the 6th edition codex, got buffed basically in every regard They are the Thousand Sons.
Oh, yes. Those are, I hear about them all the time. They're really, really popular. And they're the ones with the eyes, right?
Yeah, their eyes, they have an Egyptian theme.
Yes, they look so cool. I do like those guys.
So the history behind these guys is essentially they were just another Space Marine faction during the Horus Heresy that was waxing and waning on either side of where they stand. Now, granted, these guys, one thing a lot of people don't know is that Space Marines originally used magic. Like, it wasn't just like Psyker stuff. Like, they used sorcery.
Oh, right.
And stuff like that.
Straight up Merlin stuff.
Straight up Merlin stuff, like straight things that could bring on mutation and stuff like that. They actually used it. And that's one of the reasons why you have their arch enemies, which are the Space Wolves, so adamantly against sorcery. Ironically, they have a bunch of sorcerers, but we won't go into that.
That's an episode for another time.
Essentially, when the fall happened and they started to wane more towards chaos, one of their captains, essentially, because I think their Primarch was killed or was removed.
So sad.
And one of the highest captains, this guy named Ahriman, who was like their best sorcerer.
And had the dopest name.
Ahriman is an awesome fucking name.
It is.
But he's like equivalent in skill, like psychic skill as like someone like Eldrad.
Oh, wow.
Like super, super knowledgeable and powerful and has been alive for a really long time. Well, he had a little bit too much bravado. And he was trying to free his faction from mutation, but at the same time allow them to use sorcery because that's what they were the best at. And so he came up with this spell called the Rubric to free them of mutation. Unfortunately, like I said, his hubris was a little too high, and he cast this Rubric, and what it ended up doing is, it freed them of mutation, but it incinerated all of their bodies, basically.
Oh
so
my
they
God.
couldn't mutate, and then sealed all of their armor shut and made them essentially walking sarcophaguses.
Oh my god, that's like messed up like monkey paw kind of crap.
Exactly.
Where it's like, oh, you don't want to ever have like a skin rash? Well, you just won't have any skin. There you go.
Exactly.
I'm a monkey's paw.
That's perfect. And like I said, like it's one of those, it's one of those tragic histories because it's from something that chaos you'd automatically assume is evil.
Right.
But it was good intentions. Like he saw the mutation happening because they were on the wrong side of the Horus Heresy.
And he just did something desperate to try to fix it.
Yeah, he just didn't want to see his brothers essentially fall to chaos, and he did something, and it was foolhardy, and ended up essentially backfiring in the most dramatic fashion. I mean, the guys are literally souls sealed in a suit of armor for all time.
Jeez, that's like straight up Full Metal Alchemist kind of stuff right there.
Yeah, there's Alphonse Elric going on right there.
Jeez, that's crazy.
So these guys are actually really cool. They're very similar in essence to the Legion of the Damned, which are like the Royalist faction.
They look similar in style, right?
They don't look very similar other than
Legion of the Damned is all about bones and stuff,
bones
right?
and flames and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But they operate very similarly.
Okay.
Like they have they're touched in the very same way in the stuff of chaos. Like the Thousand Sons, they all have an invul save, and they're also fearless because they have no body to hurt.
I think I got shot where I used to have doesn't matter.
Wow, that's a big gaping hole in my chest. It's a good thing I don't have a chest anymore.
I guess I don't care about this at all.
The real kick-ass...
They can buff out their own chest. I'll just buff out my arm. Hold on, there we go.
The real kick-ass thing for them, though, is that they all have AP3 bolt guns.
What?
They have Inferno bolt guns. So every single one of their bolt guns is AP3, and they're relentless, which means they move and they rapid fire them suckers.
That's awesome.
Sorry, they're slow and purposeful, but same deal.
Right.
So they're actually really cool, and they're not that expensive. I think they're only 19 points a piece or 18 points a piece.
That is not bad at all.
It's pretty damn good. Now the hilariousness is that you can actually take these guys in units of 20, which I don't know why you'd ever do that.
That's so many of those guys.
Like you take like a maxed out unit with like the champion having shit on him and stuff, and it's like 500 points, which is just like, I don't know why you'd ever need that much, but
why not, I guess?
You talk about overkill. I mean, that's like what? That's 40 fucking bolt gun shots that are AP3. It's just like,
gosh.
Do you really need that?
How many AP3 things are you killing with that army?
I mean, I got 60-man Space Marine units, I guess.
Super apocalypse Space Marine armies? That's crazy.
But these guys are awesome. Like, I love the fluff behind them. I think it's really cool. I love the, the bad guy, good guy mechanic, where it was like, you think they're bad guys, but they're just trying to do these things. Ironically as well, that Ahriman is one of the only people that actively penetrates the webway. speaking of the Brown Library, like he's always punching his way in because he's trying to find his way to the Black Library because he believes the Black Library holds the secret to save his people, essentially.
That makes sense.
But obviously, people like the Harlequins and Eldrad and stuff aren't ever going to voluntarily let him in.
Look, I know I'm a chaos person, but and I know you hate chaos, and chaos led to the death of most of your people. But hear me out. And just torture shuts in his face.
He just gives them a wing and goes, "Come on,
let me in. I got this sweet army."
But yeah, they're really cool. So. Essentially, this list that I had to come out with now, disclaimer for the third time, I don't see that it's really hard to make this list actually work.
It's the Thousand Suns and their friendly bird friends?
It's the Thousand Suns and their friendly bird friends. So I tried to come up with a theme to this army. And the idea I came up with, I was like, they're kind of polar opposites in the way that they function. Why not make it like the bastard stepchild essentially type of army where you have anything you can do I can do better, so you have the Thousand Sun side, and then I made the warp talons, I made them khorne, so it's because Zench and khorne hate each other.
That's true.
So it's just you have the close combat guys that are super fast, they're like, fuck you, we can do this, and then you have the Thousand Sun guys who are just like, I don't fucking care about you, I was here in the first place, fuck you, I do this better. And so they just compete the whole time.
That's a really weird singing chorus. The Thousand Suns would start, and then anything you could, it goes to the other side, and rah, rah, rah. It's oh right, they're bird people. I forgot they can't carry a tune.
So very, very much in the essence of chaos, I felt they should be competing with each other.
Yeah,
because that's what chaos does.
It's like a very fun, fun competition.
Yeah,
fun.
murder competition. Well, I mean, it's not grimdark if it's not murder.
Exactly right. Everything has to some way tie into murder.
Exactly. So the core of the army, I had to have Ahriman. Because, how can you not have Ahriman?
Yeah, and he's awesome. We've established this.
He's expensive, but he does some cool shit. So we have Ahriman, and then we have 2 units of 15,000 Thuns. So 30 total thousand
15,000 Suns.
So that's the core of the army. And then I was like, if I'm going to go Kharn and competing, you got to have Kharn the Betrayer in there. So
yeah.
So you have Ahriman, you have Kharn, and they're just looking at each other just fuck you. Well, fuck you. And then
you know what happens at the end of the battle? They're both standing there smoking a cigar, be like, you know what, Riggs? You're all right. And they
drive it.
They fist bump and drive off in a red Chevy
into the chaos sunset.
Into the chaos sunset. That beautiful chaos sunset we all know and love.
So then the rest of the army, believe it or not, because just those guys alone is 2/3 of what you can take, because the Thousand Sun units alone are 400 points.
Yeah, they're expensive, but they're great. So
and the warp talons, I actually felt the warp talons, you shouldn't ever really be adding bodies to those units, because 30 points for 1 extra wound is a lot.
Yeah.
So I just took 3 units of warp talons at their core cost and gave them all the Mark of Khorne, which actually is pretty dope. It gives them all rage and counterattack.
Perfect.
Which is
great for a close combat unit.
Close combat unit with AP3 weapons is pretty damn good.
Not bad at all.
And then gave them all essentially just some abilities that make them better against Space Marines, because they gotta hate Space Marines.
Yeah, of course. They wish they were them, but they're bird people instead.
That's literally the entire army.
Oh my god!
I told you it's gonna be a hard one to make work.
Oh man! So it's just Kharn being like, yeah, I've got a bunch of bird people, man. I don't know what I'm doing here. And Ahriman's like, yeah, you messed up, buddy.
Yeah, so it's a weird situation that you end up having. I mean, it has almost no anti-tank, so it's gonna immediately struggle with that. You have, ironically, if Kharn gets in combat with tanks, he's actually a tank decimator. I mean,
there you go. Your one tank anti-tank is Kharn the Betrayer.
He can go and do his thing. He's one of the few guys that I've actually seen in the game that can solo a knight, an Imperial Knight.
Wow.
Fairly easily.
That's pretty awesome. Got to put some respect out to a dude who can solo a knight. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Bonk. He just bonks it, and then it just dies.
You go to sleep now. And he falls asleep. That's how he talks, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course that's how he talks.
Accurate representation of Kharn the Betrayer. Send all the letters to... Just kidding.
So yeah, that's the whole army. It's literally just Ahriman.
Wow.
Ahriman, Kharn.
I do love the idea that they end each of their battles with just fist bumping and riding off in a red Chevy into the chaos sunset.
Yeah, I mean, this army could not be more all or nothing. It's literally just, I mean, the Noise Marine army from a while back, the coked up Noise Marine army was pretty all or nothing, but this sets a new bar.
Oh yeah, well, that's awesome. All right, guys, so that was our Brown Library segment, and that'll be taking us into our last bit here, the Dakka of Dakkas, where we look to the Dakka of Dakkas forums to see some of the loudest or most fun comments we can find out there. Andrew, what's our pick for this episode?
Now, I wasn't exactly surprised to find that there wasn't a lot of harsh talk about Thousand Sons. Even though I haven't seen them that often, people are still giving them like some serious props, which
I would hope so. They look
weird.
Awesome.
That's being like, that unit's really kick-ass. It's really awesome. You should use it in every army. Do you use it yourself? Well, no, but
but somebody should.
Somebody should. But there were, negative things to say about
what? There are negative things about topics on the internet? Guys.
So specifically, this guy named Tasty Taste.
Great name.
Great name.
By the way, thank you, Tasty Taste, for this comment we're about to hear.
He does reviews of units on a website called Blood of Kittens.
Beautiful. Very grimdark.
He had this to say. So this was from the full review of Warp Talons, of just essentially dissecting them and seeing if they're actually plausible. The final kick in the balls. Warp Talons being so horrifying to fight fluff-wise, according to the fluff, you wouldn't know that a simple leadership check or a sideways close combat can send them running.
Oh.
Which is true. They're not fearless, and they're demon bird people, which means you only have to kill 2.
You know what? They went too far with the bird bit, and they're just scared by, cars or small cats.
They're like an ostrich. They just see a thing, they're like, burr, burr,
and they just run. Poor bird creatures. All right, that was awesome. All right, guys, so that was episode 11 of Roll to Seize. We'll be posting a new episode every month, and if you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at rolltoseize@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at partialarc. And of course, we always hold our polls every month for the next topic of our following episode at dakkadakka.com. And Andrew, what's the name of that forum again?
Just search underused or fluffy units and you'll find it.
All right, and as always, thanks for listening. And your fun fact for this month is...
I just found this out, but there are actually 5 major chaos gods.
5 major chaos gods?
So you have the 4 usuals. You have Slanesh and
Is the 5th one going to actually be Gozer, the chaos god of architecture?
Ironically, no.
If you don't know about this, listen to our Ghostbuster episode, because we discovered a chaos god. But wait, so what's the 5th chaos god?
He's called Malice, and he's essentially the god of how chaos always ends up infighting, and that, he's the purest essence of chaos, because you have all these other gods that are trying to,
right. So he's the one actually behind the scenes making sure it's staying chaos.
Yeah, he feeds all... he's technically more powerful than all of them because he's the essence of chaos itself.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, random.
We all learned something today, and it was about a horrible, horrible space god.
The more you know.
Dun, dun, dun.